Welcome to Get Over It, the consciousness transforming podcast for exceptional 21st century living. Guys, we've got a very special show today. I haven't had a medium on in a while, but we have a Southern psychic medium with us today. Her name is Kelly Palmatier, and she's out of Asheville, North Carolina, and she's going to be sharing all types of insights with you about mediumship and readings and just about everything else that you can think of. So if you're ever wondering about, increasing your psychic ability, or where do you begin, or what does a medium really do, this lady is grounded in her stuff, and she's going to share with us a lot of information to help us understand exactly what mediumship is and how it can benefit us in our life today. Now, the information shared on Get Over It uses intuitive and pragmatic insight to help you shift your consciousness to break through blocks and release energy that is no longer needed. Yes, we're going to help you let go of the BS that is holding you back. But guys, I always ask that question, are you truly ready to? And by the way, folks, BS is belief system. Now, a bit about me for my new listeners. Intuitive since birth. I'm a third-generation intuitive with over 3 decades of experience supporting people to break through the blocks along their path. I'm a strategist for personal and professional transformation, revealing cutting-edge information that enables you to prosper and thrive. I spent 25 successful years in corporate America as an executive sales professional, and I am the founder of Healing Visions Ministries and the Northern California Children's Education Network, a 501c3 nonprofit. I also had the time to author 2 books. Now, I provide consultations and healings in all areas of life that heal the mind-body-spirit connection, allowing you to live your absolute best life. My clients tell me that I keep it real while providing them with accurate information to assist them along their journey as a spirit living a human existence, but they also say, if you really don't want to know, don't ask Monique. My background includes a doctorate in metaphysics, Reiki master teacher, ordained minister, and clinical hypnotherapist, so whether you are stressed, depressed, or possessed, I can help. To find out more about me and the services I offer, go to my website, and that's MoniqueChapman.com, and I invite you to like me on Facebook and follow me on Twitter and LinkedIn. My guest today, psychic medium Kelly Palmatier of Channeling White Light, has over 30 years of experience in the intuitive world. She offers psychic readings and mediumship readings to connect with loved ones who've crossed over. She's based in Asheville, North Carolina, and she does readings for clients all across the country by phone, FaceTime, Skype, and Zoom. She also just launched the ever-exciting The Channeling White Light Show on YouTube. Please check it out, folks. It is hecka funny, okay, and she gives you a lot of grounded information. So it's funny, it's very fast-paced, and it puts a little bit of a different perspective on the world. And if you're drowning in your junk right now because of what's going on around you, tune into this show. It's definitely gonna light you up. And you can check her out at her website, and that's channelingwhitelight.com. Again, that website is channelingwhitelight.com. Welcome, Kelly.
Thank you, Monique. Thanks for having me.
Hey, it's great to have you on. Now, you have been a psychic for quite some time. When you were 8 years old, you got a message from your great-granddad for your mama. So talk to us about that, and then how you developed your psychic abilities even more.
Yeah. So, I was 8 years old, and it was after dinner one night. We were sitting around the table having a seance. You did that with your family growing up, right? Family seances?
No. We were like conjure type people, so it wasn't quite the same. But go ahead.
Yeah. I know, it's crazy. It was definitely not a normal thing, but my papa, he's my stepfather who raised me. He had participated in some soul rescue work years before, and for some reason he felt led to have us do this little seance at home, our little family of 4, and just ask the spirits if there's anything that we need to be aware of. And I ended up feeling the presence of my great-grandfather, and proceeded to tell my family that he had a message for us, and that my mom was going to get a job that she had applied for in Atlanta, 300 miles away, and that, we should start looking for a home. So all of that actually came to pass. She got the job, we got a home, and it was one of the first indicators that psychic work was in the future for me.
So question, did they believe you? When you first told them, did they believe you? Cool.
They did, but, I don't know how much of that was the humoring belief that you would give, like, oh, isn't your drawing lovely? They were encouraging, and that's what counted for me at the time at 8 years old. And then, of course, it actually came to pass. So even if they were only humoring me, whatever, it worked.
Well, how did that work for you going to school, especially elementary school, because you had the ability to see, feel, know things that other kids may not have been able to experience. So how did that work for you in elementary school?
Elementary school, I don't recall having experiences that made me feel different or, it was, I would say that my psychic abilities growing up were not such that they really were a problem for me. And, for some psychic children, it's so intense, they hide under their covers at night. I mean, I had those moments, where I wanted to make sure the closet door was closed firmly and, check under the bed for monsters and everything. But I actually had a good childhood where I didn't experience a lot of difficulty with my psychic energy. And part of that was that I kept it in check and I kind of held it back a little bit. One of my earliest psychic memories was when I was, I'm not sure how old, maybe 4, somewhere in there. My older sister, Lee, who's now in spirit, she played a card trick on me. And it was a pretty typical magic trick. Pick a card, any card, I'll tell you what you picked. And so I picked a card, and then she made a great show of concentration before happily proclaiming what I had picked. And then, of course, I was amazed and awed. Oh, my goodness, how'd you do that? Let me try. And she, being a good big sister, she let me try. And then, of course, I nailed it and told her exactly what card she had picked, at which point she gasped, how did you do that? You didn't know the trick, So it was one of those moments where I realized that this was not, quote, normal. And so, I couldn't immediately duplicate the trick because it wasn't normal, right? And so, you know how your mind plays tricks on you like that. But then as the years went by, I learned that this was something I really wanted to embrace and open up to my gifts. So I read a lot of books growing up, ghost story books and that sort of thing. And then even in middle school and high school, I started reading books about developing abilities. And by the time I was in high school, of course, this was years before caller ID, I would answer the phone greeting my friends by name. Hi, Leslie. Hi.
Oh, wow. Freak out time.
Right. Yeah. But they came to just know, oh, that's Kelly. That's just what Kelly does. And then I ended up going to college. When I was in college, I spent a year abroad. I studied at the University of Kent at Canterbury in England. And I studied parapsychology with Professor Chris Jerry. And that was a very rewarding time. I learned a lot about different parapsychology experiments, participated in things with him and through him. And then I also met and mentored with professional psychic Jo Wynn when I lived over there. She lives in Sussex, England. She's an amazing psychic. And she really took me under her wing. So, I just developed it over time.
Okay, you've had a lot of very good influences around you. Now, we had a conversation the other day, and based on the conversation, it seems like you are very much immersed in all of the clairs. So talk to the audience about how you access information and what type of information you share.
Yes, for me personally, I possess the majority of the clairs, not all, but the majority. So, like in my case, I am an empath, and of course that's not actually a clair. That falls under clairsentience. But it's just a nice way that I like to explain it to people who may not be familiar with these things. I'm an empath, so I do feel the emotions of others. I'm clairvoyant, so I psychically see images. I'm clairaudient, so I hear messages. I'm clairsentient, so I physically feel the energy, and also claircognizant. So sometimes I just know things. Now, there is also, of course, clairalience, when you smell things. And I have had that happen to me a few times. I've got a few memorable stories with those. But the clairgustance, now that, of course, is clear tasting, and that's really not something that I have experienced psychically.
You know, I was just thinking as you were talking, and I don't think I've done that either. Interesting, huh? Yeah. But I can always smell when my father-in-law comes around, because he was a heavy cigar smoker, and I don't allow smoke around me. And it's always in the car. He always comes around, so I think he wants a ride, because he's always in the car, and the smoke is there, and I'm like, do you need anything? And I get no, and I'm like, okay, well, get out when you're ready, you know. Oh, it's amazing how they, connect with us. Now, outside of your training in England, did you do any more training to develop your skills?
No, I didn't do any official training. It was, and honestly, I didn't even pursue psychic work professionally for years. I did readings for family and friends for 30-something years. But at the time, I lived in central Georgia, which was a very conservative place. A lot of, the Bible Belt and everything. So psychic work really was not encouraged. And so I avoided it. I got involved in the corporate world. I was a flight attendant, worked for Delta Airlines for 10 years. I ended up starting my own web design and marketing firm and ran that for close to 20 years. And then it was finally, it was actually about 3.5 years ago, I was sitting at the base of a waterfall, High Falls here in DuPont State Forest in North Carolina, beautiful western North Carolina mountains. I was sitting at the base of this waterfall. I was praying. I was getting in touch with nature and spirit. I was meditating. And I was talking to my loved ones who crossed over. And I just asked for guidance. I was a little burnt out, very burnt out on the web design marketing. And I know that I want to help others. And so I just asked for guidance. I spoke aloud to my loved ones or spirit, whoever was listening, and I said, I want to make a difference in the world. If there's something that I can do that I'm not already doing, please give me a sign, and I'll try to follow it. And, of course, at the time I was expecting something subtle, like a friend loans me a book or something like that. But instead what I got was an exact message, exact answer popped into my head right at that moment when I asked the question. And the answer was that I should learn to channel for loved ones who've crossed over. And, I, of course, I've had these psychic experiences throughout my life, but I've never had any mediumistic experience that I thought of in that way. Of course, thinking back now to when I was 8, it all falls into place. But at the time, I didn't ever think of myself as a medium. So this was a new message for me. Of course, I'd seen the TV shows and whatnot, and I thought it was cool, but I never thought of myself as being able to develop that until I got a direct message from Spirit telling me to do so. So I answered, okay, great, I will do that, and how should I proceed? And the answer just came to me to read books, spend time in meditation, and connect with other psychics and mediums. So I started doing all of that right away, and by the end of the month, I was channeling.
Wow, just that quick. It's amazing. Well, if you're ready for it and you step up, it will come to you. I mean, even this time in 2020 of what we're going through, you can create. It's just a matter of not being a part of the hysteria in mass mind consciousness and going within and making your plan and moving that plan, right?
Right. Yeah.
Now, Kelly,
so
go ahead.
I just wanted to get back around to, you had asked about formal training. So, since I have become a professional medium, I have then taken some additional courses with additional professional mediums. But I really did that after I was already channeling. So, it's one of those things where I just want to see how others, what the perspective of others is.
Mm-hmm.
But
okay.
yeah.
Okay. Now, you call yourself an evidential psychic medium. What is that?
Well, evidential is just referring to being able to pick up on evidence. So, for example, when I'm connecting with spirit, I might get information such as their appearance, their personality, how they passed, or sometimes even exact names. In fact, it's kind of funny. I remember when I first started channeling, I was picking up on things that were, smaller things where my clients kept saying that I was giving them hits. I was getting things correct, but it was so easy for me when I first started channeling that I actually questioned myself, the skeptical side of my own brain. I was like, am I just imagining this? Am I humoring myself? And it was one day I was doing a client reading for somebody, and I said to them, is there a Ray or a Roy? And everybody in the room gasped. His name is Roy Ray.
Oh, wow.
And, I know. And I thought, holy Toledo, I am really doing this.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, evidential mediumship, I love it. It's so cool. I've always enjoyed psychic readings and where I'm giving people insight and intuitive guidance. But to be able to say something like, not only is your grandmother here, but she's bringing up her name, Dolores, there's just something special about that, except, obviously there's still the skeptics that just insist that you had to have gotten that from somebody's social media account somewhere.
And fine, they can believe it. There's no changing their thoughts.
I don't want to burst their bubble because they're invested in those beliefs. But for me, it's just been a really exciting journey to be able to give something so specific along with things that have always been helpful.
Mm-hmm. So how do you start I booked an appointment with you for, mediumship session. Tell me, what am I going to experience? Tell me the process, if you will.
Yeah, so I do, first off, I just like to acknowledge that every psychic, every medium is a little bit different. So I can tell you what a typical mediumship session is like with me, but I don't want to presume that it's going to be like that with other mediums. So there's my disclaimer for you.
Okay.
But so for me, when you come to me for a mediumship appointment, we'll sit down, and I am doing all my sessions remotely at the moment, so it'll be phone, FaceTime, Skype, or Zoom. So we'll sit down together on the phone or video call. I'll start off just by, a little simple conversation just to kind of ease our way in, tell you a little bit about what to expect and all. And then I will open up the session energetically. So I have, a specific thing that I say to tell Spirit I'm ready to work. And then I will just start talking about what I'm perceiving. And usually I'll try to start off with gender, relationship, how they pass. I'll try to get those basics right from the start. And then we'll go into whatever else may come up. So maybe it's an appearance, maybe it's their personality, it may be special memories that they'll reference, things like that. And then what I try to do is talk for a while during the session about these things that I'm picking up that are validating, so that my clients will know I'm truly speaking to their loved ones who've crossed over. And then a little bit later on in the reading, then I usually will try to invite the Spirit to share whatever messages they may have. So, typically people want to know things from their loved ones, such as, how are they doing? And who are they with? What other spirits are with them? And, what do they have to say to their loved ones about whether it's, I love you, I miss you. Obviously, those are quite common. But we have other things that come up, where a spirit may tell someone to let go of their guilt or, hang in there, that they're not alone. Whatever that person needs to hear, the Spirit will then usually deliver some messages. And then I do open it up for questions. I'll ask my client, the sitter, if they have anything they'd like to say or ask of their loved ones. And then at the end of the reading, I will wrap it up by having the certain phrase that I say to close the session out to alert spirit that the session is now complete, and don't come and hang out with me, on the house is wrong.
Oh, I chuckle because sometimes people forget to put that caveat in there, and spirit's just hanging out, and you're like, well, why is my life changing?
Right, exactly.
Mm.
So each session for me lasts approximately 40 minutes.
Okay. Now, what if I come to you for a session, and let's say I want to connect with my mom who's on the other side, but my stepmom shows up instead? Mm-hmm. Is that just because there's a message my stepmom needs to say, or was she being pushy, or is it my mom didn't want to talk to me?
Right, good question. So, when I open up to spirit, I put the invitation out there, but who actually shows up is up to spirit. You think about it, if you're hosting a party, you send the invitations, but who actually shows up, that's up to them. Mm-hmm. And so that is the case with mediumship work as well. And, I will say that in most cases, not all, but most cases, I find that the spirits are pretty receptive to, hey, I know you really want to connect with your mom, but I still just wanted to pop in and say hello, let you know I'm thinking about you. I'm with your Uncle Johnny. He's doing well. And thanks again for planting those flowers. Mm-hmm. And then the mom will come through afterward. So we definitely have moments in our readings where people that you weren't expecting to come through do come through. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times it's because they have something that they need to say or something that they want to say, just to let you know that they're around. We can't guarantee that you'll always hear from the person you're hoping to hear from. That mm-hmm. does not mean that person's not doing well. But, spirit has a life on the other side. Mm-hmm. It's just because they don't have a body doesn't mean that they don't have a life. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, so they're doing they're learning and growing and doing their spiritual work themselves.
Yeah. Now, dovetailing down on that, say, nobody in our families, of course, but say someone crossed over and they were really not a nice person. Okay. Once they cross over, does that make them more enlightened, or do they still have those lessons to learn?
Yeah. So everybody has their own individual path that they're on. When you think about it, life in the physical world, each person has their own individual path. And so, we may have a person who lies, cheats, or steals, and then let's say they get caught. Mm-hmm. And so at that point, they have the choice. Do they confess? Do they learn from their mistakes? Do they grow? Do they stop learning and lying and cheating and stealing? Well, some do. Some don't. Others will try to avoid it, say it wasn't me, deny it. And then go on and continue lying and cheating and stealing, when you look the other way. So it's their individual personality is definitely part of it. But I will say that I feel like a lot of the difficult behavior that people exhibit here on Earth, I feel like a lot of that comes from living in a place of fear. We have our experiences growing up, our different things that happen to us, and that may make us feel that people don't love us like we are, so therefore we need to lie to try and be somebody that we're not. Mm-hmm. So I do feel like a lot of the type of negative behavior we see here on Earth is influenced by at least the experiences that we have. And so in those cases, when you get somebody on the other side, suddenly they're not encumbered by the density of the physical experience, mm-hmm. and societal concerns fade into the background. And so in those cases, we definitely do see people learning and growing on the other side. I couldn't tell you how many times I've had a spirit come through to say, I'm so sorry.
Mm-hmm. Wow. It's very powerful. Now, besides the mediumship, you do offer other services. What are the main services that you offer?
Yeah, so the mediumship is certainly one of the two main services. The other main service is going to be psychic readings, which are good for getting insight into the path that you're on at the moment and what may be coming up for you in the future. In addition to that, I do some psychic work where I'll do people who are running a business or considering starting a business may come to me for a psychic business consultation. And then I certainly have people come to me, other people who want to develop their intuitive skills, or maybe they're more advanced and they want to start up their own psychic business. So I do offer psychic business consultations as well.
Okay. So, folks, you know, kind of like well-rounded here. And in case you've forgotten, we are speaking with Kelly Palmatier, and she is the founder of Channeling White Light, and she's channeling white light toward a better world. And, guys, you can feel her truth as she's talking. So do check her out at her website, and that is channelingwhitelight.com. And if you feel further inspired, you know, contact her for a session. You know, I think she's pretty open to talking to you, and you can see how you feel. Now, Kelly, you do one thing that I just can't do. I can't keep it in my head, so I just don't do it, and that's tarot readings. Tell us about your experience with the tarot.
Well, you know, it's funny. Originally, when I was very interested in psychic things, I was just flat out not interested in tarot. Mm-hmm. But that was when I lived in England that year I mentioned earlier. When I lived there, there was an announcement that a lady was going to come and talk about tarot. And I thought, well, I'm not really interested, but I haven't got anything better to do, so I'll just go check it out. And I went and I listened to her, and this turned out to be Jo Wynn, the beautiful lady I was referring to earlier, who really took me under her wing. And it was interesting. It was after her speech. I didn't have any questions. You know, some people were lingering because they had questions. I didn't have any questions for her, but I just felt like I couldn't leave her presence yet. So I hung around. I looked at some of the books and decks she had out, and I basically just lingered. And then she came up to me afterwards, and I fabricated some sort of a question so that I could have a reason to interact with her. And then she gave me her answer. She's like, oh, but if you'd like to know more, you really should come and stay with me over in my home in Hayward Heath. So there you go. She just met me and invited me into her home. And then later she told me that she had seen a big ray of white light just channeling down onto me when I was standing there. So she knew that I was the reason she had come to our university to give that talk.
Wow.
So that was how I got connected with Jo Wynn. And then because tarot was one of the things that she did, I went ahead and learned it from her. And at the time, I started off by using the Mythic deck, and I used that for decades. And then, you know, over the years, I did collect a few additional decks here and there. And then it was a few years ago, I don't know, maybe about 5 or 6 years ago, I really started resonating more with the Angel deck that I had. And this is the Angel deck by Radley Valentine. And so I ended up transitioning over to use that as my primary deck. I really like it. The images are beautiful. The way it presents the information is gentle. So it resonates with me. And now, as far as, you know, you talk about having the memory for it, I have a terrible memory. And it's funny, I think that for a lot of psychics this holds true. The fact that when you work with energy, you allow energy to flow in, and then it flows out. You know, so this idea of retaining information, I'm terrible at it. The Angel deck actually has a little cheat. It's got a couple of sentences written right on each card.
Oh, okay. Well, that helps.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know, years ago, there was a woman by the name of Melanie Gendron, and she created the Gendron Tarot deck, and she was going to do readings at the Rhoda and Crystal Psychic Fair in Monterey, and she got sick. She couldn't do it. She calls me, and she goes, Monique, could you please fill in for me? And I'm like, Melanie, you know I don't know how to do tarot. And she goes, you'll be fine. Just do it. And I had actually seen her deck at that point, so I showed up. She had the table and everything set up. I show up, and I'm looking at the deck, and I'm like, WTF, because I don't know what to do. So you know what I did? I just did intuitive tarot readings. Okay, I'd look at the pictures, I'd look at the person, look at everything's energy, and just tell people. People absolutely loved it. And I was like, oh, okay, that could work. So then, of course, Melanie, who was so sick she couldn't do her own event, shows up at the end of the event, and she goes, give me a reading. I'm like, what? I want to go home. I don't want to give you a reading. I said, you're not going to like it. It's not you. So long story short, I gave her the reading. She loved it. She came up with a program of intuitive tarot reading. Now, why didn't I think of that? But, it is what it is. But, the information could be, spirit guided. But, the one thing I've had one other tarot reading in life, and that was by Joseph Ernest Martin with the Quest Tarot, a deck he created, and everything in that reading was negative.
Oh, my goodness.
And I wasn't going through a negative, part of my life. I mean, things were good.
Oh, wow.
So how is it that, or do you know, how it is that some tarot readings can be so negative and like disempowering instead of empowering?
Yeah. It's funny. I actually have witnessed plenty of psychics who take pride in telling it like it is, so to speak. I'm going to lay it on you. I'm not going to hold anything back. And I get that. And I've actually had some clients come to me and say, now don't hold anything back. And so it's kind of interesting that there is this mentality. But the way I work is I ask for only positive messages that serve highest good. So, so if something comes through that feels like it's not representing something positive in your life, it's just because knowledge of that situation is going to be beneficial to you. Or in most cases, it's something you're already familiar with anyway.
Right.
And I certainly don't hide things from people. If there's some challenge coming up for you and there's no benefit in your knowing about it ahead of time, I won't even see it.
Right.
But I think it's just a different approach to how some readers may work over others. And then certainly I think the decks themselves have some different slants. And I feel like that's why it's important to only use a deck that really resonates with you.
Oh, I agree. And if you look at it and you're like, ooh, I don't like those pictures, just like, next. It's okay. We don't have to, buy in, and I don't care who created it. Everybody resonates to a different beat, if you will. So, don't be afraid not to go get it, but just be clear on what you're looking for. And folks, don't allow people to program you. Okay, some people, it's unfortunate because, there's good, bad, and indifferent in all areas of life. And sometimes people will try to program you to keep you coming back or to give you such scary information that you need to know more. Just say, no, stop the BS. And that is bullshit, not belief system, and move forward with that. I had actually given I don't do tarot, so this is like clairvoyant. I had a lady in Stockton, California, come to me at a fair, and she looked the picture of health, and she had her girlfriends with us, and when I give readings, we laugh and have fun. People look at us because we're rolling on the floor happy, and I looked at her and I went, oh my goodness, and I said, I'm going to tell you something, and it's up to you whether or not you pay attention, but I'd like for you to at least hear me. And she said, okay. And I said, I'd like for you to go to the doctor this week. I said, don't go past Thursday. Get into the doctor this week. I am seeing something in your upper chest. I don't know what it is, but it's something that needs to be looked at right now. And I said, of course the choice is yours, and I said, I'm not trying to scare you because I knew what I was looking at, but I didn't tell her. And I said, I would like for you very much to make this a priority to go. So her girlfriends, one of which was a nurse, said, yep, she's going to the doctor. Well, they went on to the doctor Tuesday. Friday they called me where she had stage 4 breast cancer. And that's what I was looking at. And she did whatever, and I talked to her 2 or 3 days ago, so she's just fine. But that's how I would relay something that is not so wonderfully well. And I think you would do about the same, right? If there's something that, was needed, you would make that strong very strong
absolutely.
suggestion.
It's like I said, it's not that negative things will not come up in a reading that I do. It's that they will only come up if there's a benefit in your knowing it. So in your case, in the story you just told, obviously there was a very clear benefit. You told her, she went, she got treatment, she's doing well. Now, on the other hand, if you saw that and you saw, oh, she's got stage 4 breast cancer and she's got just a few weeks to live, then the message, or at least the way you would relay the message, would have been different.
Yeah.
And so, like in my case, all I'm saying is that I asked Spirit, I asked my spirit guides, I asked for guidance, and I asked only to even see messages if it's going to be beneficial to my client. So if if I know that someone's going to go out and be hit by a bus, and not that this has ever happened, thankfully, but if theoretically if that were to happen and there was nothing that could be done to prevent it, then why would I bother telling them something that's just going to make them miserable with fear and sorrow?
Yes,
I wouldn't.
Yeah, no, it doesn't make any sense, none at all. Okay, so what is your answer for the folks that say, I'm used to having my readings in person. I have to be there in person. Well, during COVID, I'm not doing them. Strangely enough, some people are, and that's their issue, not mine. What do you say to people who feel that the reading is not as accurate via electronics as opposed to sitting in front of the person?
It's interesting. I have to admit that I used to wonder about that myself. Because when you think about, energy, right? So if I'm sitting and I'm doing a reading with somebody, I'm picking up on their energy. And the thing is, when we think about energy in that respect, I think so many people feel that energy is something that you pick up on physically. Like, for example, you might smell BO. And yet what we find in actual fact is that energy completely transcends space and time. I mean, when we think about it, we do mediumship readings, and the spirits are completely transcending space, time, and the afterlife to reach us. Why in the world would they have a problem with a phone?
They don't need a phone.
And then, of course, what I find then is that since I've been doing nothing but remote since the early days of COVID, I've had this opportunity because I'm sitting at a desk in front of my computer screen. So I just, for the heck of it, I just turned it on and I started recording all of my sessions. And then I ended up, with permission from my clients, I would publish little excerpts of my readings on my YouTube channel so that people could see the exact moments when I amaze my clients, and sometimes even myself.
Yeah. That does happen.
Yeah. So, I've built up quite a collection, 60 or 70 little video excerpts, just 1 or 2 minute excerpts where you can see that, lo and behold, remote sessions are quite effective.
Yes, they are, because energy travels every place, folks, but it has to be your comfort level. That I completely understand. So, Kelly, tell us about your YouTube show, Channeling White Light.
Yeah, so this is really exciting for me. I just launched the Channeling White Light show earlier this month. So I launched it September 2nd of 2020. And it's interesting. I have always felt like I wanted to make a difference in the world. And I have always felt like inspiring people is part of my master plan. And so I've asked myself, once I transition from the corporate world over to doing psychic readings, I love dealing with people individually, where I have people end their sessions feeling a sense of inspiration or inner peace that they didn't have before. But I just feel like I'm really driven, I'm really compelled to reach even more people and to really help the world in a greater way. And so as I've been meditating and ruminating on this and talking with Spirit about what's the best course for me, having a show just felt right. So I started, just taking some notes and making a list of, well, if I had a show, what would I want on it? Well, I would want this, that, and the other. And ultimately what I did is I put together a show that's got a motivational moment. So I've got, a little segment where I help people get motivated for their own dreams and goals. I've got a segment that is an interview and inspiration where I talk to people who are doing good things in the world, whether it's working in a nonprofit or just as an individual or a business owner, just doing things that are making a difference. So I've got an interview section in the show. Of course, I've got some excerpts from my readings, a couple of those, a few of those little short 1 or 2 minute sessions where you have those wow moments. So that's a lot of fun to watch. And questions and answers, divine development to help people who are trying to increase their own intuitive abilities. So I just put it all together. But then I thought, this is a lot of information. And, the Internet is the type of place where if you're bored, you're going to take about 10 seconds before you click on out of there. So I thought, well, let's make it funny. And so it's really, well, you saw it. I tried to keep it fast-paced and funny, or at least goofy.
It's light. It's light, and I mean, light, fluffy, but not woo-woo at all. But she, folks, she brings up your vibration. So if you're having a crap-ass day, okay, go to her YouTube channel, because it's going to enliven you and bring you back to a point of balance so that you can move forward again. And I think that Kelly overall has done that very, very well.
Thank you, Monique. And may I go ahead and plug the URL for the YouTube channel?
Sure.
It is youtube.com/Channeling White Light.
One more time.
youtube.com/Channeling White Light. That's where you'll find the Channeling White Light Show.
Okay, folks, do take a gander. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. Well, Kelly, we're almost at the end of our time. Could you share some inspiration for us today to make the world a better place, or at least today a better space? Yeah,
so the thing is, I think you really want to get in touch with your own vibration and what feels right to you that you should be doing in the world. For so many years, I worked in the corporate world, and I did excellent work there. But, excellence is not the same thing as following your passion and your heart and your path. So I think if you find the path, and maybe it's, for not everybody can find it so quickly, but ask the questions, ask Spirit, journal, meditate, and just be open to what may come. And I feel like when you're on your own path, that makes us more accepting of others' paths as well.
Okay, very well said. Well, Kelly, thank you for being with us today as we collectively get over it. To the audience, thank you. I truly am honored, and I appreciate your time and attention. And please remember that the most important choice that you can make is what you choose to make important. Consider making the masterful choice of developing your intuitive side. Abundant blessings, light, and love to all. Agape.